That's fine. You doing that first? So I'm going to put something.
Are we ready to go forward?
Yes,
Are we
subject
almost
to.
ready to go forward?
Yes, Judge. Subject to putting something on the record. Maybe a couple things on
The
the.
judge's favorite first words in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to go ahead?
Sure. Yesterday, I authenticated two exhibits, 397 and 398. Ms. Treadaway correctly brought it to my attention that I didn't technically tender them, even though we've gone into the content. So before we resume the cross-examination, we confirmed with the court reporter they weren't officially tendered. I'd like to tender them and then allow for the resumed cross-examination.
The tender will have to be in the presence of the jury.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else that needs to be addressed?
Your Honor, simply the proffer on D47, I just wanted to put that on the record. I'm not asking for any argument or an opportunity to be heard or a motion to reconsider at this time. I just wanted to proffer it in evidence.
What do you have to say? Anything about that?
Judge, just for the record, I'm in controlling law. This is Sheffield, Sheffield versus State Farm. And that's a District Court 2013 case. Also, U.S. versus Pazent, which is P-A-Z-S-E-N-T. It's a 1993 or 1983 11th Circuit case. Those both hold that a document like that, while a public record or report may be admissible, not when it has double hearsay. That's basically a statement of the officer saying what somebody else has told them, and the public records exception doesn't apply to that.
All right, you can put it into the record, and let's bring the jury in. And the first thing we can do is let you tender the items.
Thank you, Judge.
And thank you, Ms. Treadaway.
Let's all rise for the jury, please.
I'm sorry, Judge. I didn't catch that last part you said.
I thanked Ms. Treadaway
Thank you.
for doing your job.
Yes. I agree with Ms. Treadaway.
Rightly so. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to resume the trial of the case. Mr. Evans, I'll hear from you this morning.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. It was brought to my attention yesterday evening, correctly so, by Mrs. Treadaway, that while I authenticated two exhibits, 397, which is the extraction from the iPhone 5 recovered by Officer Piper, and 398, the digital images of the Whisper post, I didn't formally tender those yesterday. So I want to tender them in front of the jury now. Thank you, Ms. Treadaway.
Any objection?
Simply the same objection that we had.
Already articulated?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Admitted over those objections. Thank you.
And Mr. Evans, just to confirm what's been pulled up on y'all's computer is the same copy that was made from the forensic analysis report that was just tendered?
Yes, I had Detective Smith pull that up this morning so that we could resume cross-examination.
Yes, great. That's what I thought. Thank you. Detective Smith, good morning.
Good morning.
Before we pick up on the device where we left off yesterday, the iPhone 5S, I did want to just briefly go through the two additional items of evidence that you reviewed and that you went over with Mr. Evans yesterday. The Apple iPad, you recall doing an extraction and creating a forensic analysis report of that iPad?
Yes.
Okay. And were you aware that an Officer Pritchett with Cobb County Police Department was asked to report to Crimes Against Persons and tasked to examine the files on the Harris family iPad?
No.
Since you created the forensic analysis report, would Officer Pritchett or anyone that needed to or was tasked to investigate the contents of that forensic analysis report report, search, analysis, examine, would they need to go through you to get that forensic analysis report?
No.
Okay. Once you turn over a copy to Crimes Against Persons, whoever they decide to go investigate and follow up and examine, perform the analysis of the information on the forensic analysis report, they need to go through Crimes Against Persons, correct?
Yes.
And with the iPhone 4S, this is the work iPhone of Mr. Harris's.
Yes.
And you conducted an extraction and you generated a UFDR report from Celebrite Physical Analyzer, which is this program that we see up on the screen. A different device, the same program. And you placed the item into recovery mode.
Yes.
Correct. You generated the UFDR report, and you agree that the report allows an investigator to search, analyze, export, and report specific information pertinent to their investigation, correct?
Yes.
And were you aware that Detective Stockinger was tasked with investigating the information on that work iPhone 4S?
That does sound familiar. I recall him getting a copy of the disc.
And what do you recall about his review and examination of the work iPhone?
I wasn't present for his work on it. I just know that there were others, and Stockinger was certainly one of them.
And how do you know that?
Well, we work closely with that unit.
Okay.
I'm frequently in and out of the office, and knew that he may have even had some questions about just the usage of the UFED reader, the program that opens the extraction report.
And you'd agree that a lot of attention and resources were devoted to this case, correct?
Yes.
And were you aware that an officer, Foley, not a detective, but was pulled from their patrol to review the information on Ross's iPhone 5S?
Yes.
And so you were aware that he did nothing else for 27 days than to review the content on your forensic analysis report from the iPhone 5S?
I wasn't aware that that was all he did for 27 days.
Okay. And you'd agree that, prior to your extensive training with high-tech crimes, starting in 2009, you had formerly been a detective with Crimes Against Persons, correct?
That's correct.
Robbery, homicide.
That's correct.
The same unit that would investigate a murder charge such as this one, correct?
That is the unit that would conduct those investigations, yes.
You were offered and tendered as an expert, correct? In this case?
Yes.
You're an expert in computer forensics, correct?
Not in computer forensics.
Computer forensic analysis?
Well,
Is that
mobile
not
devices,
what you were?
mobile device examiner,
Okay.
forensic video.
For forensic videos, video surveillance,
Mhm. Yes.
mobile phones,
Yes.
computers,
No.
not computers. You, have you ever been offered as an expert in computer forensics?
Not that I recall.
Well, that surprises me. With all of your training, you would agree you know quite a bit about extracting content and information from a computer.
For mobile devices, primarily. I am familiar with how to extract information, do acquisitions of computers, but it's kind of a different techniques are involved.
Would the technique for a mobile device be more complicated or less complicated than a computer?
The techniques are different.
Your unit handles the extraction and analysis of both of those kinds of electronic devices, though.
Both of those, yes, are handled out of the IT.
And in this case, you were tasked with the extraction and the creation of a forensic analysis report for three mobile devices, iPad, and 2 iPhones.
Yes.
Correct. Yet with all of your training and experience, you weren't tasked with performing a full analysis and review of those 3 devices.
That's correct, but it's not unusual.
Is it unusual to request that 2 police officers be reassigned from their patrol to come review the contents of your forensic analysis report for 27 days?
Object of relevance.
Well,
Your Honor, he testified that that's exactly what happened in this case with the forensic analysis report that he created, and I'm following up from his testimony, which was that would not be unusual.
well, that's true, but, well, there's some flaws with your questions, if you can rephrase it.
The testimony was that it's not unusual for you not to be asked or tasked with doing the analysis and review of the forensic analysis report that High-Tech Crimes creates.
That's correct.
Given your training and experience with crimes against persons, robbery, homicide, the same unit that would be tasked to investigate a case just like this one, having testified that you work closely with crimes against persons in high-tech crimes, would it be unusual to have a patrol officer pulled from the scene to do nothing else but review the analysis of the mobile device?
I have seen that occur before,
Okay.
and I don't know the management reasons why that was conducted.
Fair enough. And you don't know why.
I don't know.
That wasn't your call.
It certainly wasn't my call.
Fair enough. But you're capable of doing the analysis and doing the review of all of this.
Yes, I think it's probably a time management issue for the personnel where high-tech crimes is a small unit of 4 detectives. I primarily do surveillance video, supporting any number of other investigative units, not just the crimes against persons, but all of our criminal investigative units as well, and some outside sources, actually. The cities sometimes request. Now, I don't recall the workload at the time, but our workload, we continually have a backlog. And so it may have just been a decision based on managing personnel and resources.
And I've made a note of that, and I'd like to come back to that point regarding the focus on surveillance. But right now, I want to just piggyback off of what we were doing at the end of the day yesterday. If you wouldn't mind, please, sir, stepping down so that you can assist me. All right. Excuse me, Brian. What number are we on? 50?
The actual ones, or these your screenshots?
These are photos that I showed you before of the demonstration.
Other than that, what did you do?
So I'm confirming that this is good. And this is from the report.
This is from the report, right?
That's the image from the,
So 56 is what you did.
right? Detective Smith, I'm going to hand you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes, defendants 50. And that is a printout, extraction report of the timeline that I had you look through yesterday, correct, at the end of the day?
We were looking at the timeline, yes.
Do you need for me to pull that up so that you can confirm that what has been pre-marked for identification purposes, D50 is the same?
That we can, okay.
Sure. Okay. You want to be thorough and you want to be accurate, correct? All right.
Yes.
Okay, Smith, I'm going to take you to line 59663. Okay, that's the start. Oh, actually, 59663 is this instant message here, correct?
Yes.
And that's item number 1 on D50.
It is.
And you tell me when you're ready for me to continue scrolling so that you can verify that that's exactly the same as this that we were looking at yesterday.
Mr. Rodriguez, to speed things along, I don't have a problem
Okay,
with the
great.
timeline.
All
Go
right, thank
ahead and tender that.
I'll move D50 then.
No objection.
Admitted.
Thank you. And I'm showing you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes as D51.
Is that the timeline as well?
This is the web history that we were looking at yesterday.
All right. If you want to tender that, I'm not going to have any objections, so we'll speed things along.
I'll move D51.
No objection.
Admitted.
Now, and just hold on to that. You agree that we were looking at web history yesterday,
Yes.
correct? And D51 is a printout of the forensic analysis report that you created that shows the web history for Mr. Ross Harris on the iPhone 5S.
Yes.
Correct? All right. And take a look at line 15. Why is it hazy when hot? Google search. Okay? We talked about that yesterday. Okay? And as suggested by the court, we talked about this during the break, and I'm showing you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes as D56. This is a screenshot of a Google search for the same terms, correct? And I showed you before we started this morning me conducting this Google search, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is a true and accurate photograph of the search that you observed me conduct this morning.
It is.
Okay, I'll move D56.
Now, while you're the witness,
Sure.
you can ask questions about the other 57 as well.
Well, yes, I know.
Okay. Do you want to ask some questions about that and tender them at both at the same time? It would assist me in my voir dire of the witness.
Okay, sure. And showing you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes is D57. Okay? This is an image that was found on the forensic analysis report, correct?
Yes.
And if and the second page there, D57, actually shows and confirms the name of the image, correct?
Yes, it has its file.
The file properties, that are provided by your extraction report?
Yes.
Correct? And you would agree that this image here that contains the title of the page is the same as the first listing on the Google search screenshot in D56?
It is, for the most part, it's a partial.
It's a partial.
Yep.
And just so that the jury understands, this could be, the partial shot could be a function of a number of things. It could be just all the content that Celebrite and the report was able to decode.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's a possibility.
All right. And you would agree that in D57, the title of that page is also the same as item number 4, why are hot and humid days often hazy, correct?
Well, yes, but it ends, it doesn't capture the end of the hazy.
Right. But you would agree with me that this image that's on the report
Is it thought?
appears to correspond to this item in the forensic analysis report.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll move D56, D57.
And so if I can do a quick voir dire on the issue,
Yeah, D56.
so that the jury understands. I don't want this to be lost on anyone. Okay, 57 actually comes from the report that's already tendered into evidence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. No objection to 57.
I did.
I want to ask you about 56. 56 is a screenshot in modern day in 2000 and, what year are we in? 2016. It's been a long few weeks, Judge.
Yes, sir.
This is a screenshot, modern day 2016, of a search that Mr. Rodriguez did, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. Would you agree that the best evidence of what's actually on the phone would be what's captured on the extraction report, correct?
Yes,
Can websites change?
yes,
Can they be different over time?
yes.
Is there any guarantee that this is the same exact website today that would have been viewed in 2014? Or is it possible that some of the websites change?
Oh, it's certainly possible, some of the information changes.
Okay. For what it's worth, then, I'm not going to object, but I think it's important to make that distinction, so I wanted to clear that up on voir dire.
Then you have no objection?
No objection.
Admitted.
Thank you. Permission to publish, Judge?
Yes.
And Detective Smith, if you'll step forward with me, please. If you will publish this to the jury. This is D56, and this is the screenshot that you identified of the Google search for why is it hazy when hot, correct?
Yes, that's one of the lines.
All right, and would you go ahead and read the title of this link here?
www.theweatherprediction.com /HabbyHints /345, and that's all that's visible there.
And you'd agree that that web address corresponds with the web visit from your
Yes.
forensic analysis report?
It does.
Okay. You read off the URL address, and if you don't mind moving down so that all of the jurors can see. The title of this website is Why Are Hot and Humid Days Often Hazy, correct?
It is.
Yes. And I'm giving you D57, if you'll publish that to the jury, please. This is the image that you testified came from the forensic analysis report that you created of the iPhone 5S, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that it's got most of the title that we see on the web history extraction report?
Yes.
Okay. Why are hot and humid days often, and then hazy appears to be cut off?
It does.
Okay. And this screenshot appears to define water vapor relative humidity. Warm air has much more water vapor in the air. It talks about haziness is especially evident on warm and humid days. Water vapor merging onto particulates, wind speed, stronger winds. You'd agree that all that content is in here?
It does appear
Okay.
in it.
And this web visit, you'd agree with me, doesn't actually predict the weather. It doesn't predict the temperature for a certain date, correct?
No.
And Detective Smith, if you'll come back over, please. I'm showing you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes, D52. Okay? This is similar to the exhibit that was just admitted regarding the Google search of the why is it hazy when hot. This is a screenshot of a Google search for child passport fees that you observed me perform before we got started this morning, correct?
Yes.
All right, and it shows the passport fees and website that appears on the web visit, the web history extraction report in line 2, correct?
Yes, I observed you perform a Google search for that term.
Right.
We didn't print this out, but that is how it appears.
This is
That section.
Sure. This is a true and accurate copy of the section that I showed you after performing the Google search.
Yes. I don't know when it was made.
You agree that what has been pre-marked for identification purposes as Defendant's Exhibit 55, okay, is a thumbnail that was found on the forensic analysis report of the iPhone 5S, correct?
Yes.
And I showed you, after performing that Google search, this passport fees website has a drop-down menu for this content exhibited in D53 and D54, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the thumbnail contained on your forensic analysis report appears to be a screenshot or a partial shot of this content on the website, correct?
Yes.
I'll move D53, 54, and 55, and 52, excuse me.
Which two are the thumbnails?
55 is the thumbnail of 53 and 54, and 52 is the search.
Same things apply. The thumbnails actually recovered from the device in 2014. You agree?
Yes.
Okay. As for the other things, that could be a modern day search, so there might be differences.
Yes.
With that understanding, no objection to those exhibits.
You're admitted.
Thank you. And Detective Smith, you'll step over, please. I'm going to hand you what's already in is D51. That is a extraction report of the web history. And on line 28, there was the Google search for child passport cost, correct?
Yes.
And we know that when you Google child passport, oh, excuse me. Sorry. We know that when you Google child passport fees, this link, passport fees, comes up. Correct?
That was something you showed me this morning, yes.
And this website is the same as what was visited in line 2.
Yes.
Okay? And passport fees, you'd agree, is a travel.state.gov website. It's a government website, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And that webpage was visited on June the 18th, 2014 at 12:48, 15 seconds in the morning.
Yes.
Now, if you would, show the jury, please, what's been admitted as B55. All right? Okay. This is an image of the form necessary, apparently necessary, to apply for a passport for a child under the age of 16, correct?
I do see that it says under age 16, and I believe that is what it purports to be.
Excellent. And I believe your testimony yesterday was that you were not aware that Mr. Harris was planning a vacation cruise for his child and family. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that still your understanding today?
Yeah, I'm
You
not
weren't
aware
aware
of
of it.
any of his plans.
Is there any reason that the witness couldn't be seated for this portion of the cross?
Well, I'm about to pull up some
All right, fair enough.
images on his forensic analysis report. So,
Let's get that done.
great. Detective Smith, if you'll pull up chats, please, on the project tree.
Okay.
We'll open that up. You have it pulled up? Okay. Will you go down to pull up item numbers starting at 5417 on June the 18th? So if you'll click on, that's right, that project tree chats, it's got 5,438 entries. And if you will bring the cursor close to all the way down to the bottom of the screen so that we can take a look at numbers 5417 through 5429 on your report, please. Let me know when you got it pulled up, please.
Five four 17 is displayed.
Excellent, thank you, sir. And 5417, if you would, please, pull up that whole conversation window up. You'll just click on this button here so it'll show that kind of blown up for the jury. Okay, great. And you'd agree with me that this post here was not created by Mr. Ross Harris?
I don't believe it.
Okay. And it appears that he responded, then go to bed. Correct?
That is possible.
Okay. And is it possible to blow up that image so that the jury can see the content of the whisper post, the image?
Yes. So,
And you'd agree that this whisper post says, "I hate waking up this early."
yes.
Okay, and if you'll go back to the chat screen on the report, the time that he, right there, for this chat, the time that Mr. Harris responds, then go to bed, is at 7:37:43 in the morning on June the 18th, correct?
That post was made at that time. don't know that it was his post.
The response, I'm sorry.
The response.
The response, okay. And D58 is the image whisper post that we're looking at, and then go to bed. The response and the chat screen that we see is reflected here in what's been pre-marked as D58.
Yes.
Okay, I'll move D58.
No objection.
And then if you'll go to 5419. Now, you would agree with me that having reviewed the whispers, there is quite a bit of discussion about sexual topics.
There did appear to be
Okay.
significant sexual content.
Significant sexual content. And, we've already discussed the always in my feelings, the red image that Mr. Harris did not create, so there's no sense in going over that again, but let me just go to 5419. If you will pull up that chat window for the jury to see. And 5419, this image was created by username participant Friday Finally.
Yes.
Okay, at June 18, 2014, 7:41:20 a.m., Mr. Harris responds, "There are actually people that do this like 3 or 4 times a day. It's crazy to me, but they love it." How do we find out what he's talking about?
I don't know.
What about pulling up the image? Would you do that, please?
Yes.
And you agree the image says, "I wonder what a coffee enema would do to someone, ha ha," right?
The meme that was pushed out does,
And Mr. Harris didn't create this.
I don't believe so.
Okay, this was done by someone named Friday Finally. That was the username they had selected. Okay, and I'm showing you D59. If we'll go back to the main, or to the individual chat that we're doing here now. Okay. You'd agree that that image and the content of the conversation is accurately depicted in D59.
Yes.
All right, I'll move D59.
No objection.
Admitted.
Judge, can I publish these?
Yes.
And then if you will move to item 5422. And just to be clear, on the Friday Finally, that activity was between 7:41:20 in the morning and 7:41:34 in the morning, right?
Yes, that activity was.
It was like 14 seconds of activity with regards to the enema post, correct?
Yes.
All right. And if you'll go to this individual chat here that I asked you to pull up, item 5422. Go ahead, pull up the image first, please.
I apologize, I'm having a hard time seeing
That's
the
okay.
screen and
Would it help you out if we switch spots? And this image is a meme of a MacBook, right?
Yes.
And the creator is Bronze Light, right? Bought a MacBook Air yesterday, love it, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Harris's response, if you could go back to that individual chat. He says at 8:16:26 in the morning, "Yeah, I love my Mac." Correct?
Someone.
Well, it wasn't Bronze Light, correct?
No.
And Bronze Light is not Mr. Harris, correct? What's pre-marked as D60 is the image and the conversation that we see, correct? I'll move D60.
Any objection?
No.
Admitted.
Not published.
Yes.
And D60 is the comment about the MacBook Air. You agree that so far, the 3 conversations and 3 comments about these whisper posts aren't sexual in nature, correct?
Correct.
All right, and that it certainly doesn't espouse any sort of child-free philosophy, correct?
Correct.
And there's no indication whatsoever about any animosity towards Cooper Harris.
No.
Okay. All right, and if you will go back to the main chat screen, please. If you'll go to item 5423, only truths. All right, if you'll open up that chat, individual chat, and open up the image so we can take a look at what was posted first. You agree it says, teachers assign you homework and never check it. Why the F did you give it? Correct?
Yes.
If you'll go back to the chat, please. That was posted by username Only Truths, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Harris is not Only Truths.
I don't.
Okay. The person responding to Only Truth says, because you won't practice the work if none is given to you. And then there's discussions about high school grading, homework being boring. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right.
Everything you described is accurate.
And you'd agree that what's been pre-marked as D61 accurately reflects the chat that we're looking at here.
It does.
And in fact, it appears that Mr. Harris comments, well, with that mindset, the first year of college is going to be hard, where the only grades you get are tests and a final, correct?
Well, someone posted that.
Okay. Possibly Mr. Harris,
Yeah.
according to you.
Yes.
All right. And that was at June the 18th, 2014 at 8:47:42 a.m.
Yes.
Okay? And you'd agree this is not sexual in nature?
I would.
Okay, I'm going to move D61.
No objection.
Amended.
It does not display or indicate any sort of animosity towards Cooper Harris.
I don't believe so.
And if we'll go back to the main chats, please. If you'll go to item 5424, where the participant is visual blonde. If you'll open up that chat conversation. Open up the image so that we can see what Mr. Harris is responding to, please. The post is, anyone like a tall girl? And there's an image of a ruler, correct?
Yes.
We go back to the conversation. You'd agree that the response at June the 18th, 2014 at 8:48:35 seconds in the morning says, I do, but I'm not very single. Y'all girls are sexy.
Yes.
Correct?
That's it.
And this is somewhat sexual related, correct?
Yes.
He doesn't say that I'm looking to leave my wife. In fact, he says, I'm not very single, right?
That is what the post says. I don't know who posted it.
Mr. Rodriguez, I'm not sure you tendered that
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry. I'm going to move.
That's all right.
I apologize, Judge. I'm going to move D62.
No objection.
Amended.
If you'll go to item 5426 with the participant, Big Truck Gal 07. If you'll pull the image and the conversation up for us, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the creator of this post is taken a photo, a selfie,
That's wrong.
it appears to be a selfie, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. It's a photo of a female's face.
It is.
It says 2 weeks until I go to PCB, smiley face. Do you know what PCB stands for?
I suspect I do, and I suspect it would be Panama City.
Okay. And if you'll go to the conversation, please. Having done an analysis and having met with Jim Persinger, who we talked about yesterday as the private investigator hired by the DA's office, you were aware that Mr. Harris's username on Whisper was Bama XH, correct?
On Whisper,
Yes.
I was not.
Okay. All right. Or on Kit?
I was aware of it on Kit.
Okay. Were you aware that the extraction through Celebrite never identifies the username for Mr. Harris?
That is correct.
Okay.
That I was able to find.
Okay. It always comes up as unknown, his comments,
Yes,
right?
they do.
Because, unknown is how exactly Mr. Harris's comments are labeled on the red image that the state was asking you about yesterday.
Yes.
Okay. So you'd agree that comments from Mr. Harris that are labeled as unknown is consistent with the piece of evidence that was discussed yesterday?
It is consistent. However, on that piece of evidence, I actually looked further into the original extraction using physical analyzer, which is, we're not capable of doing with the UFED reader program, to see that in the actual database, it actually has an indication that shows mine versus others. And so I could actually tell those were marked as coming, generated from the actual fund.
Okay, well, then, as best as you can tell, then, there is potentially a conversation that someone is having with someone named Big Truck Gal 07, and it has nothing to do with Mr. Harris. Right? It may not be Mr. Harris, that's unknown, and we know that Mr. Harris is not Big Truck Gal.
I suspect he is not, and I suspect that those are his responses.
Okay, fair enough.
I haven't looked individually at each one of these to see if on the phone, in the database, it actually shows mine. It shows a positive indication that it was generated from this user.
Okay. And I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as D63.
Yes.
This is the image that we're looking at, and this is the conversation.
It is.
And I'm going to move D63,
Which one's that?
the one that we're talking
No
about.
objection.
Who you suspect to be Mr. Harris says, "I love PCB." On June the 18th, 2014 at 9:49:01 in the morning.
Yes.
Correct? The response is, "Me too." And Mr. Harris says, "Bikinis, thumbs up." And Big Truck Gal 07 says, "Ha ha, ha ha." And Mr. Harris says, "Well, I love them," smiley face. Correct?
Yes.
Sorry? And if we'll go to 5427, please. Now, you notice that there was a gap here. We talked about this gap yesterday. As far as the conversation with "Always in My Feelings," that ended at 9:24:28 in the morning.
Yes.
And there doesn't appear to be any activity on Whisper until 9:49:01 in the morning, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And we're skipping over "Always in My Feelings." We know that Mr. Harris didn't create that post. Okay? We talked about the discussion in that conversation yesterday. So, in looking at 5427, I Am Human, if you will pull up that image and conversation, please, sir.
Okay.
kind of hard to see, it's a dark image. Detective Smith, if you'll come over here. May not be able to see from where the jury is, but does it appear to be a dark image of a female's face?
It does.
Okay. And the meme says, need to wake up, ... can't get out of bed, LOL. Correct?
Yes.
And if we'll go to the conversation. At 9:56 in the morning, Mr. Harris says, why still in bed? Correct? Late night? And I Am Human responds, because it's comfy. And Mr. Harris says, good point. Correct?
Yes.
And what's been pre-marked as D64 is the image and the conversation.
Yes.
I'll move 64.
Noted.
And if you'll go to item 5428, please. If you pull up the image and the conversation, sir.
Okay.
And this photo is of what appears to be a keypad on a phone, on an old phone, correct?
Yes, that's what it appears to be.
And the content says, having an extremely boring and slow day. Can anyone help the time go by faster? Question mark, 20F. And that appears to indicate 20-year-old female, correct?
I would suspect.
Okay. If you'll close that out, we'll go to the conversation. Do you have any idea why someone would make it known that, hey, this is a 20-year-old female posting this?
Well, objection, I would call for speculation.
You have no idea, right?
I'm sorry?
Well, I sustain the objection.
And in the conversation, it appears that the poster of this meeting did not select a username within Whisper, so it appears as unknown on Mr. Harris's phone, right?
I don't know for certain
Okay.
why it's not shown.
Could it be just a limitation of Celebrite and the UFDR? That it wasn't able to decode the username for this person, this 20-year-old female that posted this?
I don't know that it was a 20-year-old female that posted it, and I don't know why there wasn't, username listed, but there are a number of things I think.
All right, well, let's just read through the comments. The first one at 6/18/2014, 10:46, 34 a.m. My day just started too. Okay, so this appears to be someone different than who created the post.
I would presume.
Okay, and at 10:46, 53 in the morning, just started and I feel like I've been awake for forever, haha. And then the next comment is, I woke up at 5:30, kill me. 6/18/2014, 10:48, 41 a.m., correct?
Yes.
And then the next is, haha, geez, that sounds horrible. 10:50, 18 in the morning. Well, I have a son. That joker decided that, hey, I'm going to get up early. 6/18/2014 at 10:50, 53 seconds. Okay? And if you'll scroll down, the response is, haha, oh, gotta love kids. Correct?
Yes.
And that's at 10:51, 24 in the morning.
Yes.
Okay? And the response, LOL, yeah. The response, how old is he? Question mark, question mark. Response 2. Response, oh, what a great age. And if you scroll down, please, sir.
Okay.
He's awesome. Correct?
Yes, I see that.
He's awesome at 11:17:18 seconds in the morning on June the 18th, 2014. Yes. And the response is, I bet. Smiley face. Okay. What I'm showing you is pre-marked as D65 is a true and accurate printout of the image and conversation that we just went over.
It is.
Okay, I'll move D65.
No objection.
Admitted.
No one says that they hate their son in this conversation. No one says that their son is holding them back from anything, correct? If you'll go to conversation 5429 with I am human. If you'll pull up the image in the conversation, please. Okay. And this appears to be a second conversation with the participant, I am human. This post, this photograph, is of a female, correct?
Yes.
And she appears to be outside, correct?
Yes.
And the text says, gorgeous day outside, and I don't have work today. Score, correct?
Yes.
We'll go back to the conversation. And it appears that at 10:59:48 in the morning, Mr. Harris says, go do something. And I am human responds at 11:12:36, I should. Correct?
That is correct.
All right. And I'm showing you what's been marked as D66.
Yes.
And this is a true and accurate printout of the image and the conversation that we just talked about.
It is.
I'll move D66. No problem.
Admitted.
If, Detective Smith, if you would please, let's back up. If we'll go to the main screen, or the main chats, where you have all the chats available.
Okay.
If you will go to May the 30th, and we're looking for a participant named Just a Girl. Thanks. Specifically, look at 11:57 in the evening. All right, stop right there. Just a Girl, item 5117. If you'll pull up the image in the conversation there, please. All right, this image is of a female. It's a close-up of a female, correct?
It is.
Appears to be a selfie.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was gonna say. And the content is, I guess everyone has their breaking point every once in a while, and then there's an emoji that's kind of a sad face, right?
That is the way it appears.
And if we'll go to the conversation, please. Mr. Harris did not create that post, correct?
I don't believe so.
He's never used the username as Just a Girl.
I don't believe so.
All right. And what appears to be his response is my breaking point is pretty low right now, correct?
That is the response, yes.
You have no idea what that means exactly, correct?
Correct.
There's no context to it, correct?
Not for me.
It certainly doesn't say, I'm going to kill my son, okay?
It does not say.
Okay. And this image and conversation that we're talking about is accurately depicted in this printout.
It is?
Okay. I'll move D67.
No objection.
It's not sexual in nature, correct?
No.
It doesn't reference his son at all, correct? There's no indication that Mr. Harris is attempting to use his son as a prop to get women in this conversation. Correct?
No.
If you'll close out of that, please. What's already been admitted into evidence is the timeline for June the 18th. We'll go back to the timeline tab that we've had opened up. Hopefully we'll still have June 18th. If you would, please. Go to the instant messages around, or starting at 10:49 in the morning. Item 59-813.
Yes.
If you'll open up that conversation, please. And so if you'll go to the right of the screen, all the way to the right, all the way to the right, see the go-to?
I can't see the cursor.
Right.
Okay, now I see that. Okay. Where are you wanting me?
So let's go to this chat, please.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. All right, and let's blow it up for the jury to see.
Conversation?
Yes. All right. And I'm sorry, you're gonna have to scroll all the way down to get to June the 18th at 10:49 in the morning. It should be at the very bottom. Okay. Go up. Just a tad. There we go. All right. You'd agree that Leanna Harris sends a message, get to work okay, on June the 18th, 2014, 10:49:36 in the morning. And the information that we get from Celebrite and the UFDR is that Mr. Harris read this at 10:50:41, correct?
Yes.
Right. And then within a minute, he's typing, yep, and it's sent at 10:51:41 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
It says, we're gonna go to the early movie, so I should be home close to 7. And that's at 10:52:05 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
Can you scroll down? Leanna Harris says, okay, let's just scroll to the end. Mr. Harris then says, when you getting my buddy? June the 18th, 2014 at 3:16:29 in the afternoon, correct?
Yes.
And this is the afternoon of Cooper Harris's death, correct?
It is.
That's the last message that Ross Harris sent his wife, correct?
I believe so.
When you getting my buddy? We're on 68. Sorry? And you'd agree that, oh, I'm sorry, let me show the opposing counsel. I'm sorry, Detective Smith, I didn't mean to snatch that from you. agree that what I'm handing you, it's been pre-marked as D68, is the last conversation that Ross had with Leanna via text on June the 18th. Correct? And it's the chat that we just went over.
It is the chat we just went over. I don't know whether it's the last two, I don't know.
Well, you testified this was the last text messages that
From this phone.
Okay, fine. I'll move D68.
No objection.
Admitted.
You'll go back to the timeline, please.
Okay.
And if you would, locate the instant message from this phone number here on June the 11th, 2014, at 12:54:11 p.m. Oh, nice. Have you located it?
I have not.
June the 11th. All right, and if you will go to the chat, thank you. Let's blow that up for the jury to see. You'll go to 12:54 in the afternoon. Okay. You'd agree that this shows Mr. Harris at 12:54:11 in the afternoon on June the 11th, 2014. Exactly 1 week before Cooper passed. There's a photo sent of Cooper sleeping.
Yes.
It was delivered at 12:54:14. And he says, "Mama, Daddy helped me go to sleep." And that's at 12:54:17 in the afternoon. And Leanna Harris responds, "Aw, my buddy," smiley face. So scroll down just a little bit so we can continue to read.
Okay.
Ross responds, "He didn't see me till I laid down next to him." At 1:01:10 seconds in the afternoon, correct?
Yes.
Then, Daddy, and that's in quotes, exclamation point, he was quoting Cooper, correct?
I would assume.
And that was sent at 1:01:32 seconds in the afternoon, correct?
Yes.
And Leanna responds, "Aw, see?" And Ross responds with a smiley face.
Right. Yes.
There's no numbers on them.
You have an objection to it?
We put a number on it, so I know which one.
Oh, the exhibit, yeah, 6970, correct, thank you. I'm showing you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes as defendant 69 and defendant 70.
Yes.
Right? This appears to be the image from the conversation that we were just discussing, correct?
Yes, it
And,
does.
and this all comes from the extraction report that you created
Yes.
from Ross's iPhone 5.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to move D 69 and 70.
No objection.
And
You'd agree that this appears to be a very pleasant conversation about their son.
I object to characterizing the evidence is what it is.
Madam Barton.
Detective Smith, just so that the jury can see that image and they don't have to pass all those around. Will you blow up that image, please, of Cooper's looking? I'm almost done, Judge.
Sure.
I'm almost done.
I don't know. That's,
Yeah.
Thank you. Detective Smith, you mind taking the stand, please?
Okay.
I made a promise to myself that I'd circle back to the point about your primary focus on surveillance, and so I'll finish with that. With all of your experience and training, you know that if you get a piece of video surveillance from a place of business that operates security cameras, you don't just take the piece of evidence, take the video, and assume that the time on there is correct, right?
I do not.
You cross-reference an accurate source of information to make sure that that time is true, correct?
I believe it's the best practice.
It's best practice to follow up and search for the truth, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
I need a few minutes to get these exhibits in order. I have some specific questions about some of them.
That's
Would it be
fine.
appropriate to
It's
have a
time
morning
for-
break?
I'm sorry, it's time for morning break.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, close your notepads, keep an open mind, no conversations. Y'all go and enjoy yourselves for a little break.
Let's all rise for the jury, please. It's like a step going down.
We'll be in recess.
Jesse, I left all these items up here too.